Sankhya, Yoga, Karmamamsa, and Vedanta. These are six philosophical theistic, sorry, yeah, six philosophical Vedic systems. So these six philosophies explain uh, what actually Vedas are trying to convey to us. So if you go to Nyayist person who follows Nyaya philosophy, he might tell you, okay, so Vedas like Rig Samyajur Atharv, the message of Vedas is logic. And so suppose if you go to Vaisheshika person, people who follow Vaisheshika philosophy, they might say the purpose of the message of Vedas is that everything is atoms, and if you free yourself from atoms, that is moksha. Now that's what they say. If you go to Sankhya people, they will say, okay, the message of Vedas is that there is something called spirit and there is something called matter. To separate spirit from matter, that's the ultimate aim of life. That's what Sankhya people will tell you. And then you ask him who founded Sankhya, they'll say Lord Kapila. But now you have read from Bhagavatam, Sankhya Yoga, which is also said by Lord Kapila. But if you have read Bhagavatam explanation of Sankhya, you will find Lord Kapila is talking about devotional service to Krishna. But if you go to traditional people who are following Sankhya, they will tell you, no, Krishna, who cares for Krishna? It is Sankhya is telling to separate spirit from matter. That's all, and you're God. You are God. That's what they will tell you. So what's happening? You might get confused. Now you have read Bhagavatam, Lord Kapila Sankhya, and you go to some ashram. Suppose if you go to Ganga Sagar, there Lord Kapila ashram is there. If you go there in Calcutta, and if you tell them, oh, this is Sankhya, they will just get lost from here. It is not Sankhya. So then you might be confused. I just took a course, and what happened? So well, what is happening is Srila Prabhupada explains that there were two Lord Kapilas. There was not just one Lord Kapila. There were two Lord Kapilas. One Kapila was atheistic Kapila. He was an impostor Kapila. And he propagated atheistic Sankhya philosophy, where they say that we are God. The spirit and matter, spirit separates from matter, that's liberation, and spirit is Supreme Brahman. So that is their proposal, atheistic Sankhya people. Uh, now this person, he was an imposter Kapila, but the real Kapila, his message is in Bhagavad. That's the idea there, and his message is pure devotional service. So we follow the real Kapila or Bhagavat Lord Kapila, and he's speaking about Sankhya, devotional Sankhya. So that's why I brought the question: who inspired Sankhya philosophy? So now the second question is why Sankhya is called Sankhya philosophy. Why Sankhya philosophy is not called, let's say, what can I say? Why Sankhya philosophy is not called, what do I tell? Mm, maybe mathematical analysis or something bizarre. Why Sankhya is Sankhya? That's the whole point. What do you mean by Sankhya? Now Sankhya means counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like this. So Sankhya teaches us to count, to count tattva. Now this word tattva I have to introduce here. What is tattva? Tattva means those things which cannot be reduced, the ultimate the ultimate reality. So these people, so Sankhya philosophy teaches us, okay, what is ultimate reality? What constitutes ultimate reality? Can we count how many real things are there? That's what Sankhya is trying to find out. Now, uh, you might say ultimate reality is one, but that's not the point there. That's not correct. That is a traditional misconception. It's not one. Ultimate reality is diverse. There are so many things in ultimate reality. So that Sankhya wants to count. How many basic principles are there in nature? Or let's say, what are those things which cannot be divided further? That's ultimate reality. So Sankhya wants to count, so they counted, and they came up with 24 elements, 24 principles which are ultimate reality, and those 24 principles, 24 things, and when those 24 things intermingle with each other, then you get this whole creation. Like for I'll give you example. Like for example, in colors we have RGB system. You know RGB system: red, green, and blue. Isn't it? It's like that. So, but if you mix red, green, and blue, you can get all colors. That's when computers will find RGB. So that's ultimate. If in painting, if you say what's ultimate reality, they'll tell you red, green, and blue, and from this you can get everything. So what is ultimate reality of this whole material world? There are so many things in this material world: table, chair, house, people, trees. But can you have a system like RGB, red, green, and blue, where some basic things are there, and you mix those basic things and you get everything out of it? That's what Sankhya is trying to find. So they came up with 24 things, and if you mix these 24 things, you get the entire creation. Whatever you can imagine and whatever you cannot imagine, that you can produce for 24 things. That is Sankhya system. Just like for example, this the RGB system I gave you, like intermixing them. So these 24 things, they have explained 24 things, no? 24 things in Sankhya system. So for example, earth, water, fire, air, ether, 5 elements, and then mind, intelligence, ego. This becomes 8, and then you have 5 working senses, 5 knowledge requiring senses. It becomes 10, 10 plus 8, 18, and then you have 5 sense perceptions like form, taste. So then 18 plus 5, 23, and then you have soul, 24, and then 25th is God. That's how it goes. So you see, so if you have these 24 things and if you mix them, then you get everything in this material world. That is Sankhya philosophy. So Sankhya means counting the basic things of ultimate reality. So now this system Sankhya, it is used by Vedantic people also. When Madhvacharya came, Ramanujacharya, we all use Sankhya system to help devotees to understand, okay, what is the ultimate principle? Because if you don't understand, now I mean to say, you can question why. I mean to say, what on earth, like why do we have to do all these things? It's crazy. Just chant Hare Krishna. It's just headache. We are counting this 5 working senses, 5 this senses, and earth. What's this? We don't want to do this. We simply want to chant and dance and be happy. That can be a decent proposal. Why to rack our brains in this? Especially third canto. That's a very difficult canto, and as many people avoid reading this third canto. Many people, many devotees. But we should not. Why? Because if we don't understand properly what is ultimate reality, and then it's very difficult to appreciate God, because this is a creation of God. If you don't appreciate painting, you can't appreciate the painter. You have to understand the painting. Just like, for example, many years back, I went to British Museum here in Delhi, and so they had an exhibition of art. So we were seeing so there were paintings displayed, arts, and we could understand anything because it was modern art. It was crazy. Just you see one painting and there is one stroke, just one stroke of brush, nothing else. You see another painting and there is just somebody took a brush in the paint and they just sprinkled paint on the on the, what do we say that canvas, and that's all. So we couldn't understand anything, and I asked the person in charge. I said, what is scrap? He said, this is the one of the best paintings in the world. This is modern art. This is called modern art. So we couldn't really understand painting, so who cares for the painter? But other people who were coming, who were actually experienced in modern art, they were seeing and they were appreciating and they wanted to meet the painter. That's the idea there. If you understand the ultimate reality of creation, you will want to meet the Creator. And that's what is devotion all about. Devotion is all about desire to meet God. This Prabhupada in LA, there was one devotee who was like, I like just some new hippie, and he was like hyper person, and he was coming to Prabhupada again and again in his room, and he was asking questions. This. Prabhupada said, okay, he answered, and then when Prabhupada was about to go, this boy, he was a boy, and he just came running, and he said, Prabhupada, how do I practice Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada sat in the car, he opened the window, he saw him, and just spoke one word, and he went away. And what was that word? That word was desire. He said desire. He just went away, and that's it. Nothing else. So we can desire, that's all. We can, as living entities, we cannot do anything. We are so tiny. But we can desire. And the desire to serve and meet God, that is devotion. And that will not happen if we don't appreciate the painting. That will never happen. Because we are living in this material world, and we don't try to understand how complex is this material world, and how complexly ingenious this material world is, and how this is managed by this supreme creator. It's impossible to really appreciate him, who is a director, producer, animator. He's an animator behind this whole creation. And that is why, I mean to say, Lord Kapila is not mad. Is he mad to speak on these things? He could have equally sit and did chanting and reading. And that time it was nice, they had trees, they had forest. He could have just sit and made a nice hut and just chanted and have some prasad and have some congregation parties, and that's all. Man, that's all. He's an incarnation of God, by the way. If you all know, if you have all have read, he's a partial incarnation of God. Shaktavesh or partial, I forgot. But he's an incarnation of God, and he came for a purpose, and he didn't come to frighten people with his philosophy. See here, it's a complex system, and then people, oh, my God, yes, you're afraid, okay, bye bye, I'm going. That was not. When every incarnation has a purpose to give an access to higher reality. God doesn't come just for enjoying and doing some worthless thing. That's not his point. So every incarnation has a contribution in that eternal message, so that we people, dull people, can understand something. So he came and he made things easy, and he gave us Sankhya philosophy, and he made us. Actually, you see, I'll tell you one thing. Uh, as a medical doctor and as a biologist, I'll give you example. If you have read I mean to say, all of you might have read biology in your schools, but you might not have read the history of part of it. Now, initially, biology had a system called taxonomy. I mean to say, they were studying plants and animals, and there were so many plants and so many types of animals, and they were thinking what to do with this. So they classified all these plants and animals in some categories. So okay, plants with spiny leaves, this category. Plants with soft leaves, this category. Plants with this kind of flower, this category. Plants with this kind of fruit, this category. So that categorization was called as taxonomical classification. And they also classified animals. Okay, this animals eating meat, animals eating, herbivorous, carnivorous, like this. Some classification they made, and there were so many classifications from different perspectives. Some person classified plants according to flowers. Some person classified plants according to the height of the tree. Some people classified plants uh, shape of leaves, and there were so many taxonomical classifications. It was like people were super confused what to do, and there were how many plants, innumerable types of plants. So it was really becoming mess. But what they found was later they found one thing which actually connected everything, and they found genes, genetic material, and then they could make sense of everything, because different species has different genes. and they couldn't mate with each other. So genetic material, so then they could classify very easily according to genetic material. Very easily, the classification became very easy. And that was genetic classification. And you know all about genes, and it became so easy. So that's the point, Sankhya. There's so many things in this world. What to do? How to classify them? So Kapila, he came. He said, okay, take these are 24 things and classify them according to this. That's all. Finish. You intermingle them and classify them, and your thing is solved. And behind these 24 things, there is God. So that is the point of Sankhya. The meaning of Sankhya is counting. The question was, what's the meaning of Sankhya? Why Sankhya called Sankhya? Because it means counting. You're counting reality. And the most important point is, if you understand Sankhya, you will immediately realize one point, that reality is not one. Immediate. I mean to say, just the fact Lord Kapila brought this philosophy Sankhya, he refuted Mayavad just by the name of this philosophy Sankhya. Mayavad says everything is one. Lord Kapila says, to hell with you, everything is many Sankhya, you can count them. So he was like a enemy of Mayavad's theory, and just by his name he refuted Mayavad. Everything is not one, everything is so many things, and then you have to understand them. So one of the purpose of Sankhya was to actually help us appreciate Creator and develop a desire to meet Him, and not just do some counting system and analyze things. That was not the point of Sankhya, by the way, which atheistic Sankhya people got involved in this, counting things and analyzing things, and they just got involved in this. They forgot God. But Lord Kapila said, yes, we are counting reality, but the purpose of this is to develop a desire to meet God. That was one thing. Another purpose of Sankhya was to help us understand how we are entangled in illusion. So it is said, if you want to defeat the enemy, understand your enemy. It is said. So we are in bondage of illusion, and we have to defeat illusion and get out of it and escape from this and go back to spiritual world. So if you want to escape from illusion, you have to understand what's illusion all about. What is this bondage? If you want to escape from prison, you have to understand everything about prison, right? Where are the doors? Where are the tunnels? And then you can escape. You can't escape like this. Where are guards and everything? You have to have a perfect map of the prison, especially if you are, especially if you are sent to Siberia and you are there in the in that. So what was that prison which was actually unbreakable? What was that? Albatross? Something, I think in what's that?
Alcatraz.
Yeah, Alcatraz. Yeah, that prison. So if you want to escape, they said nobody could escape from this prison, but 3 persons did, and there's a whole movie about this. I think so. I read a novel. I read in history actually. So they did. How they did? They had complete map, complete understanding of every inch of the prison, and they took many years to understand how prison functions. Not just the map, but the functioning of the prison also. It's not just the map. So when we actually have this brain scans, I'm a doctor. So when we have brain scans, so initially, I mean to say, to see whether there is cancer or disease. So initially they used to have just, I mean to say, MRIs, brain scans. So they used to get snapshots of brain and see what's there. But that was not enough, because we wanted to see brain in action. Because certain diseases happen when the function, so when there's malfunctioning. So there might not be any structural deformity, but there might be functional problems. So then you have to see brain in action. So then they develop functional MRI, fMRI. So then you can see how blood is flowing and how impulses are flowing in action, live. So similarly, it's not enough to know the map of the prison. They had to understand the functioning of prison, when the guards are on duty, when they are off from the duty. So that gap in between, when there is happening change, that you have to escape, all these things. So similarly, Sankhya is not just telling you the structure of the universe. It is also telling the function of the universe, how these elements, 24 elements, interact, and how then they create things, function. So it's not a static painting, by the way. I told you have to understand the painting to appreciate the painter, but it's not a static painting. It's let's say it's a movie, and you have to understand how this movie is working, or maybe Matrix. If you get out of Matrix, you have to understand everything about that stuff. Everybody knows Matrix. So, so Sankhya is all about that. So you see this. So why we want to understand? Because we want to escape. That's the second purpose of Sankhya. We want to escape from this matrix, and we have to understand it. So Lord Kapila comes in his incarnation. He says, "Hey, I'll tell you how to understand this. It seems pretty complex. There are infinite number of things, and you can't classify. But I will give you a system by which you can very easily understand what is this material world and how it functions." And that was very important. Otherwise, you cannot escape from this material world. So, and that is why I told you, if you want to defeat your enemy, understand your enemy. That's very important. Srila Prabhupada always said in his book, understand God. Prabhupada said. But then Prabhupada also said, understand illusion, Maya. And Bhagavatam begins like that, apashyat purnam purusham mayatat upashrayam. When Vyasadeva saw God, behind God he saw illusion. He saw illusion behind God. And Vyasadeva could see Krishna, but he could also see how Krishna is controlling Maya. That is full vision of God. In fact, when anybody used to come to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, and he used to say, "I saw God." Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he immediately used to retort and he used to ask, "Did you see Maya?" He said, "No, I saw Krishna." Then he said, "You didn't see Krishna." So Sankhya's third canto is important, by the way. Don't just jump to 10th canto. It will not help you. If you want to escape from prison, you can't just dream of freedom and understand nothing about prison. You will never escape. You'll just keep on dreaming. That's all. That's all. So if you go to 10th canto, you'll be dreaming about Krishna. That's all, nothing else. You have to understand first to 9 cantos. Please read Prabhupada's books. Don't avoid reading this because of complexity. Don't do that. Don't do it because Prabhupada said, actually, Prabhupada said, Prabhupada always said to his disciples, I was hearing memories from Prabhupada disciples, and I think Harish Hari Prabhu, he was saying in his memories, if Prabhupada made us realize one thing, that was that Krishna consciousness is a serious business. Prabhupada always made us realize, he told all Prabhupada disciples, he said, all of us with Prabhupada realize that we have not, Krishna consciousness is not a contract where you have signed a contract for happiness. That's not the point. You have signed the contract for a serious business. You have to get out of birth, death, and disease and old age. Of course, the process is happy, but the purpose is not happiness. Remember that the purpose is not happiness. Process is happy. That's okay. We don't say process is happy, but it's not necessary. If a process is happy, it should be simple. That's not the point. It can be complex enough, but it can be equally happy. I mean, to say people who do PhD in quantum physics, they are happy, but quantum physics is very complex. So Heisenberg, founder of quantum physics, one of the founders, he said, if you understand quantum physics, then that means you have not understood it. Because nobody understands quantum physics, but nevertheless they do, and they're happy in their fields. So happy process doesn't necessarily mean it is simple. It can be complex. Of course, Krishna consciousness is simple, but at the same time complex. It's both. But it's happy. But at the same time, the purpose is not happiness. The purpose is to escape from this material world. That we always have to remember, because if we get involved in happiness, we'll forget the purpose. That's the whole point there. So that is what is Sankhya philosophy. Two purposes. One is to desire to meet God. Second is to escape from illusion. And that's pretty much what is spirituality all about. That's pretty much what is Gita all about. In fact, Sankhya is there in Gita also. The last 6 chapters is Sankhya. What's that? 13 chapter to 18 chapter. It's all Sankhya. And that's why nobody reads them. It's complex. So why do mess up your brains? But you know what? If you want to achieve something, you have to. They said no gain without pain, isn't it? In material world, it's the same here. And you know the beauty of Srila Prabhupada books is you can understand these complex things in very simple manner. Although Sankhya, Lord Kapila already made things simple, but we are so stupid that we can't even understand simple things. That's our problem. That's not the problem of Bhagavatam, by the way. We are stupid. So okay, Srila Prabhupada says, fine, you're all stupid. So I'll do your homework and make things more simple. So Prabhupada has made so simple, and even now, if we don't read this and we avoid, and if we don't read Prabhupada books, it will be such a misfortune and such a calamity. I mean to say, it will just it's madness. It's madness not to read Prabhupada purports, and it is initially it might appear difficult. That's with any subject, isn't it? But if you keep on reading, it becomes very simple. So yeah, please read this philosophy of Sankhya, third canto, fourth canto. That third, fourth, especially fourth, also it also touches upon Sankhya. I mean, Sankhya is all around. Sankhya is a system, is a scientific system to analyze reality, and Lord Kapila focused on it. But other incarnations, they have the element of Sankhya in it, because you can't make a philosophy without analysis of this material world. You can't do it because we are there in material world. We are not in Vaikuntha. We are there right here. So it's all there in Bhagavatam. So read it, understand it. Srila Prabhupada books, purports, Prabhupada explained again and again. Bhagavad Gita, last 6 chapters, please read them. Nature, enjoy consciousness, divine and demoniac. What's that? Three faith? What's that? Faith, divisions of faith. All these chapters are there. And once you understand, it becomes very easy and very clear actually. Once you get a hold of the functioning and the map of prison, it becomes very clear how to escape. Then you'll not be caught. You know everything. And you can move. You can maneuver your way out, isn't it? So you can maneuver your way out from this material world, because you know why Maya is very tricky. She knows more Bhagavatam than you, by the way. She knows everything. Uh, she knows more Bhagavatam than you, because if we want to understand her, she wants to understand us. Because we are her enemy. She wants to. So we don't understand her, but if she understands us, we are out. We are dead. If enemy understands you more than you understand enemy, you're dead. That's all. And she understands everything, much, much, much more than us, what we can do in this life. And it's pretty dangerous, isn't it? You have an enemy who has power like God. You have an enemy who is omniscient, omnipresent. What do you do? How do you? Yeah, it's like Matrix, isn't it? Like it is a software everywhere, and you are in trapped. So, what do you do with that? Okay, red pill or blue pill? That was the point. No. That's where it started. So please, Prabhupada said, don't take it lightly. Don't take things lightly. We are trapped. You have to realize we are trapped. We are not free. That realization has to come from within your heart. You are trapped actually. We are not free. So you can be. So if you are imprisoned and you're happy and you think I'm free, you're highly mistaken. What they say in movies, you're highly mistaken. what do you say, brothers and sisters, you are highly mistaken if you think you're free and comfortable. It's not like that. That's illusion. So don't take it lightly. And we have Prabhupada books. It's so, see, the point is you have some way out which you can understand. Just you have to give some time, that's all. Nobody's asking anything. You have to give time and some patience, and everything will become absolutely clear. And then we, at least our part is done. Then rest Krishna will do. But Krishna waits for us to take one step, then he takes 10 steps. So that's all about Sankhya. Now when you read Sankhya, you will understand what Sankhya is all about. It's not just a name, a theory. It's nothing like that. It's a basis of philosophy, of devotional philosophy. It's foundation of devotional philosophy. That is why it's in third canto, very initial stages of Bhagavatam, because foundation must be clear. Then you can go ahead. Otherwise, the Sankhya philosophy could have been in 11th canto. First talk about Krishna, be happy, baby Krishna, adult Krishna, and you're so happy, and then Sankhya. Okay, now complicated. But Vyasadev didn't do like that. He put Sankhya in the beginning, because if the foundation is not clear, then you can't go ahead. I mean to say, there was a risk. Vyasadev is author of Bhagavatam, and I mean to say, you see, he took a risk. He put such a complex subject in the beginning, and he took a risk that people might just close his book and not read, go further, isn't it? Any person who writes a book, first he wants to write nice, entertaining things, so that the reader you can capture his attention. But so ideally, if Vyasadev, I mean to say, if Vyasadev would want to become a popular author, he would have put 10th canto in the beginning. So people would be engaged, Krishna's pastimes and this, and then August Sankhya. But he didn't do that. He put Sankhya in the beginning. He took a risk. He said, well, if you put a 10th canto in beginning, the book becomes useless. We will entertain people, but it becomes useless, because by the time you read Krishna's pastime and then you come to Sankhya, you would have developed so many misconceptions that you would not have even understood anything about Sankhya, because your mind will be full of doubts. Completely, your mind would have just reversed. So he put Sankhya first, and he said, it's complex, I know, but you have to go through it. Have patience, go through it, understand it, keep your foundations clear. Once it's clear, then a whole sky is open for pastimes of Krishna. Then you can dive deep in pastimes, come out, fly, do anything you want, but you will not be deviated, you will not be misguided, and you will really understand what are the pastimes all about. Because you have to keep in mind, philosophy is a language of love, just like mathematics is a language of science. Philosophy is a language of love. Without language, you can't understand the subject. 10th canto is all about love. You don't have a language, so you can't talk, you can't understand. That's philosophy. That is Sankhya. Sankhya is a language of love. It's a whole subject I can talk about, but remember this, it's a language of love. It's not just an analytical system which atheistic Sankhya people will tell. That's not the point. So you need to know language. If you want to read Vedas, you need to learn Sanskrit. That's a language. You can't do anything. If you want to learn Shakespeare, you have to learn English. If you want to learn 10th canto, you have to learn the language, which is Sankhya. That's why Vyasadev, 3rd canto, 4th canto, Sankhya, you learn the language, then you go there, no problem. So this is all Sankhya all about. Anyway, Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I'll just end up here. Any questions, anything?
Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
May I ask, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Prabhuji, when you said the process is happy, but the purpose is not happiness, or the purpose is not happy, what does that mean?
That means when you follow the process, that I'll give you example. Suppose you take a ride in your car. I mean to say you're very bored in your house and the whole week you have been working. So you say, I want a break. Okay, let's go for a ride. So you take your car and you go for a ride and you want to enjoy. I mean, you want happiness. You're bored off, so you take car and you go. But then, you decide, okay, well, let's go to my friend's house. And so we can meet them and we can meet them. So you're driving. The process is driving, and you're happy. But the purpose is to meet your friend. It's not happiness. So, but if you think your purpose is to enjoy driving, then you'll keep on driving and you will never go to your friend's house. You'll just keep on going here and there. So you lose the purpose. That's the whole point. The process is happy and you get happiness, but the goal is to get out of this material world. That has to be remembered. Otherwise, we'll keep on following the process eternally, and we'll never get out of this birth and death. And so, what's the point of that?
Ji.
That's the point.
Ji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. That explains it. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So, Prabhuji, you said that the ultimate reality is not one. It is all these different elements, the 24 elements that we mentioned. Means you cannot derive anything. Means they are not derived from anything. That is what you meant, I suppose.
Ultimate
But
reality is
then
one.
this,
Ultimate reality is not one.
yeah. So no, but then I had a little bit of confusion that all these elements are actually derived from Mahat Tattva, and Mahat Tattva comes from the Lord. So then he becomes the ultimate reality, right?
No, it's not like that, because you see the point. Yeah, your point is there, but you have to, if you understand deeply, all these realities are existing in a very subtle form, in the form of energy, but they are there. Mahatattva uh, is not something where all realities collapse. That's not the point. Nothing collapses. They are there, but
So
in energy form. So the
they are
whole
sort
point
of
is,
maintaining their individuality in that Mahat
yeah,
Tattva also.
right.
Okay,
They're
okay.
all maintaining their individuality.
Okay,
So
fine.
now,
Yeah.
so these are ultimate realities, and God is also ultimate reality. So that's how there's so many realities like that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Okay.
Rahul Prabhu, I think you had a question.
Rahul, you had a question, Rahul Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. I was just about to ask the ideal process of moving ahead in Krishna consciousness, because we are really beginners. So we have started with reading Bhagavad Gita, and then we are attending sessions of Srimad Bhagavatam. But what would be ideal process from your point of view so that we can progress on this track and we stay on this path?
See, the most important thing, if you want, I mean, there are many things, but the most important thing is there are two things. First is reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Never compromise with that. That is the source of energy, strength, everything in Krishna consciousness. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, always when you chant holy names, don't take it carelessly. Chant them seriously and with full focus and attention, as far as possible, because life is busy. So if we can do these two things regularly, and of course, yeah, these two things in the beginning, you will advance. Nothing can stop you. The only thing which can stop you is you yourself. If you leave them, that's all. Otherwise, you'll advance. That is, I mean to say, not just at beginning stage, even at the final stage. These are the two things. Always, we always remember. reading Srila Prabhupada books and chanting nicely. And I think any serious devotee will tell you this. Any serious devotee. And of course, if you want to advance fast enough, then if you get association of good devotees, knowledgeable devotees who can clear your doubts, whom you can listen to, and that will be very, very beneficial, because when you hear things, you understand more when you read, isn't it? So that will help you to fasten your pace. But these two things I would say that's the most important thing.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hearing does not substitute for reading. Isn't it?
Hearing doesn't substitute. Yes, hearing is 25%, reading is 25%. Vaishnav guidance is 25%. Sorry, sadhana is 25% and time is 25%. That's how it goes. This is a full 100%. It takes time, but that's 25%. Your sadhana, personal practice, chanting especially, which is 25%. Hearing is 25%, which includes Vaishnav association. And reading Swadhyay is another 25%. So it can't substitute. But that's theory. But in practice, people don't have time. So if you want to choose between reading and hearing, now if that thing is there, I mean, you have to chant. You can't choose chanting. You have to choose between reading and hearing. Then hearing is much more beneficial than reading, because that person because the people whom you're hearing, they will actually they have assimilated things and they can tell you much more than what you read. But that doesn't mean that you don't read. Reading has a different. Hearing gives you a lot of perspectives of one subject, many dimensions. That's hearing. But in reading, you can actually meditate. In hearing, you can't meditate. You get information, you're hearing, you're getting different angles, but reading, you are meditating on one point or some points. So there are different roles of hearing and reading. So we can't substitute. We should do both, actually, if we really want to advance. That's the idea.
Sometimes it so happens that some devotees are too much engaged in seva and they don't really get so much time.
Yeah, people are engaged in a lot of seva and they don't get really time for reading. Okay, so then don't get time for eating also. No problem. You're too much engaged. A simple excuse, that's all.
Thank you.
Okay,
Prabhuji,
so
one more
then-
question, if I can humbly ask.
Yes, Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhuji, but when you say don't take chanting lightly, there are times when we are chanting and the mind is wandering around wherever. How can you help their mind to not wander around?
No problem. When your mind is wandering around, you just have to think, I cannot focus on God, but God can focus on you. Just remember that point and chant. That then you will not take chanting lightly, even if your mind is wandering around, because you know that at this point of time, God has focus on me. Just like a child is doing something nonsense, but mother has complete focus on the child. Baby, maybe he falls down, he does something. She has complete attention on that baby. Baby doesn't know anything, but the baby knows that my mother is there. Sometimes he's out of that also, he's spaced out. So similarly, although mind is spaced out, it's like baby, but we know that a mother, father, or that's Krishna, he is focusing on us, especially when you are chanting, because you're taking his name. His attention is on you. So then you see, even if your mind is wandering, still you will want to chant nicely as far as possible. And that will make your chanting good. That's how it goes.
ठीक है जी. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna ji.
Yes, Reshma Mataji.
Prabhuji, I have one question about reading. We are trying our best to read and understand, but sometimes it happens that we don't remember things, and even if we remember, like it would not be completely, like So in that case, if we continue reading, it's okay, or like we should first get a absolutely clear picture, then only go ahead.
No, just keep on reading. Even if you don't understand, keep on reading, then again read, then again read, then again read. That's the system. Don't try to clear things and get stuck up because clarity doesn't come in one day. So when you keep reading, then rereading, then you enter the subject. So it is said that you keep on what's that? That you keep on so we have got chandan wood. Yeah. So that example is given. So you keep on rubbing that chandan stick or wood. If you keep on rubbing it, the fragrance will after some time it will become very fragrant. So similarly, keep on reading, even if you don't understand, no problem. Just so you will find suddenly you will start understanding everything by the mercy of God. Krishna, yeah, like that. That's a
Thank
system.
you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. If there's no question, we can finish here. Can we, Madhu Prabhu?
Yes, yes, thank you very much, Prabhu. I think there are no more questions. So thank you very much, Prabhu. I mean, you have brought a very fresh energy to the group, like, very interesting points you mentioned about Sankhya philosophy and how to understand it actually, because we had just done in a sequence. Anu Mataji is asking that, can we get Prabhu's mercy again?
Well, if you order me, I'll try to fulfill that order. Let's see.
Yay.
What is it?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. We would be so obliged to hear you.
Thank you, Anumata.
Hare Krishna.
So,
Okay.
Dr. Mehrotra Prabhu is the senior-most member of our group. He's 80 plus years old and he's retired from the Indian Army. He was commanding in Kashmir and he was commanding the 13th Jats. Yes.
That's right.
Yes. And he's been a constant inspiration. He has had, in fact, 100% attendance in our sessions, while sometimes my attendance was less.
Very much. You've been so interesting a session, Prabhu. I hardly miss it.
Okay, so you see, so he might have understood my point. You have to understand the enemy perfectly. Yeah, in the fight.
But today's inputs were wonderful, very educating. Thank you very much. You must repeat your visit to us. My prayer.
Thank you. Okay, Madhu Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So His Grace Keshav Anand Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dhanavad pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dhanavad pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Dhanavad pranam. Very nice
Prabhu,
session.
Dandavat pranam.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam, Prabhu.
Thank you, Rishwan.